What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be checking out the Gloomhaven digital board game conversion. This is a sponsored video, so please don't use this video as any type of review or critique or anything else like that. The developers, Affinity, and also the developers of Gloomhaven, so the producers and the developers wanted me to feature this on the channel, and therefore here we are, because Gloomhaven has kind of an established history in the board game world. If you look up Gloomhaven, if you're not into board games, you'll find that this game pretty frequently ranks in the top 10 games of all time on Board Game Geek and a couple of other websites that really sort of follow the world of board gaming. Gloomhaven is sort of like, I don't know if you guys have ever played Descent, but it's kind of like Descent ramped up to 11. And so Gloomhaven is very much kind of a middle ground in between board games and D&D. So if you don't want to do a full pen and paper campaign, but you do want to do some dungeon crawling that has depth and character development and things of that nature, you probably want to look at Gloomhaven, because this game is a big game. And this video is going to have a lot of explanation and a lot of kind of rules and talking as we go, because this isn't really a game that you can understand on your first run. In fact, I've actually been playing the digital conversion now for 3 or 4 hours before this video, just to kind of remind myself, because I've only played Gloomhaven in real life like one time. And so anyways, I had to kind of remind myself of the rules. I had to go watch some tutorials. I kind of had to refresh my memory a little bit so that I could explain the game properly to each of you. However, if after watching this video you find that you enjoyed this and you wanted to play it for yourself, I'll have a link for you down below so that you can wishlist the game or purchase it for yourself once you see this video. So anyways, Gloomhaven, it is a board game giant. It's a very popular board game. In it, you're going to take a number of classes. I think there's like 17 or so of them, and you're going to run them through the dungeon, or like 17 class comps or something like that. There's like thousands of abilities. They all have different synergies. It is a complicated game, though, so buckle on in, because there's going to be a lot of talking in this one as I explain to you what I'm actually doing while I play the game. We're going to go into adventure mode. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to change party. I don't want to play as these two for this video. I think these two do alright. Like, I did enjoy playing as the Brute and the Scoundrel. In fact, let's just go through the character roster. And so we have the Brute. He's a frontline melee fighter. He can take a big-ass beating, and he can give it back, too. He's got an ability called Devastating Strike or something like that. What's it called? Overwhelming Assault, that's what it is. He's got an ability called Overwhelming Assault that basically like one-shots everything at this level, except that he can only really use it like once or twice per dungeon, and so you kind of want to hold on to it until those dark moments when things are falling apart. This is the Cragheart right here. I know he looks like he's a tank, but he's actually not. He's more of a ranged attacker, in all honesty. So like, I would consider him to be a brawler. Like, he's more of a DPSer, I suppose. He's got a lot of ranged attacks that do a bunch of damage, and then if anything gets too close to him, he deals a bunch of damage, but he can't really take a hit the same way that the Brute can. The other characters that we have available, we only have 4 right now, but we have the Sorceress. I actually haven't played around with the Spellweaver at all, because from what I read, the Spellweaver is complicated in Gloomhaven and kind of takes a little bit of finesse and isn't exactly for new players. And then we have the Scoundrel, who is a rogue. She disarms traps, she poisons people, she has backstab, she has flanking strikes, stuff like that. And so anyways, those are the core classes that you're going to be able to choose from as of right now inside of the game. In fact, I'll probably go with the Doom Crushers on this one. I haven't actually played around with this group comp yet. I've mostly been playing around with the Brute and the Assassin in preparation for this video. And while I do like them, I feel like on a certain level they lack certain synergies, I guess. Like, I wish that the Assassin had a few more ranged attacks, I suppose. Because, like, when she wades into melee, she does deal damage, but she also takes a lot of damage. So, the Doom Crushers. Here they are. They are at 0 XP right now. So, we're going to dive straight on into the game. We've got a bunch of abilities right here. Don't worry about this too much. I'll try to explain the combat system once we get on into it. I can't promise you that I'm going to be the best at explaining that, but I'm going to give it my best shot based on what I know about Gloomhaven, having played the game officially one time in the tabletop version, and then this right here, I've run 2 or 3 campaigns in the digital board game conversion just to kind of prep up. Now, we are going to play the game on normal. This game is super unforgiving and super difficult, even on the normal difficulty, so ramping up the difficulty, it's probably not going to work out so great. if you're a first-time player. I would recommend leaving it on normal. I can still barely clear dungeons on normal. Like, it's usually a slog. And I don't mean that like in a bad way. I just mean that it's like an attrition-filled bloodbath on the way through, and you still lose characters every now and again. Let's begin. So our mission for right now, if you looked up in the top right corner, we're going to be fighting a bandit commander. That's our ultimate quest, is to get rid of a bandit commander. While drinking at the Wayward Inn, you overhear snippets of conversation between two town militia. Apparently, a local bandit commander has come into a possession of a number of heretical texts, has begun researching necromancy. So there you go. You are well aware that magical research often requires a handy supply of gold, and after asking around, you discover his hideout's whereabouts. Obviously, you are unprepared to assault his base just yet, so you prepare to leave Wayward and head off to raid some local crypts in search of knowledge and better equipment. So there you go. We can go off in this direction if we want to, but it will change the overall difficulty of the campaign. So if we choose to swing out this way, it'll probably loop back this way and then come back down. But anyways, as you go to these locations, it'll unlock new paths that go in different directions as you kind of wind your way towards the ultimate goal. Don't feel pressed to move too fast towards the final confrontation. It's not really necessary. Kind of take your time, take your challenges one by one, and every one that you walk away from in this game is a good one. Alright, that's the general rule of Gloomhaven. If you walk away, that's a good thing. Usually, you don't, especially if you're new to the game. So we can go to the Marches, which is going to have the Hawk Helm. Over here, they've got a Resonant Crystal, and we've got the Boots of Striding can be dropped. You can actually see the loot. If you mouse over, well, maybe I don't have the camera in the right spot. There we go. If you mouse over this right here, it'll actually tell you the difficulty, how many scenarios you have to run through in order to get through that leg of the campaign, how much XP you're going to get when you arrive at your destination, how much gold you're going to get, and then also any items that are hidden along the way. So as you do dungeons, for example, on the way to Mistfell Copse, the Staff of Zorn, the Boots of Striding, and the Wand of Storms are going to be hidden in dungeons along the way over there. And if you've played Gloomhaven, you've probably memorized some of these items. You probably know the metagame, and you probably want to aim for certain things in your build. As of right now, our Brute has the Boots of Striding already, so we don't really need those. During our movement phase, we can add +2 move to a single movement, and then that card gets tapped right there. And then we also have a minor healing potion, which allows him to heal 3 health, but then the potion is gone forever. This guy has a Warhammer, and during melee attack, we can add stun to the entire attack action if we really, really want to, which is actually a pretty good ability. It's going to give us the ability to kind of knock somebody out for a turn, which can be helpful. This is a game of resource management, though, and we'll talk about that once we get into this dungeon. Let's start our trip to the Decaying Tombs. Little gold dot. Traveling down the road, encounter! The road you are on leads you to a narrow cliffside path. As the only route in sight to reach the bottom, you begin your descent. You notice in the cliff face here, it's becoming smoother as you descend. Mysterious etchings and carvings start to emerge as you examine the wall. They begin to morph into shadows that swirl and dance about the surface, seemingly leading you along the wall to a spot on the ground. Tucked into a small alcove at the base of the wall lies an urn with a small quantity of coins inside. I know this event, if we take this gold right here, we're going to get cursed, and so we're going to carry on a-walking. Unnerved by the magic at work here, you decide to press on without interfering. Trust me, if you touch those gold coins, bad things happen. Just don't do it. So here in the Decaying Tombs, we have a dungeon. These tombs swarm with the undead. Let us end their suffering. Our goal is to kill all of the enemies inside of this tomb, and so we dive into our first combat scenario. Alright, so, ooh, that's a rough first room. That's a real rough first room. Yikes. We got traps in all the wrong spots. Alright, so the rooms are randomly generated. Like the decorations and the booby traps and everything else, they're going to be in random spots when you start off over here. Somebody's going to have to eat a trap in order to get over to there, which kind of sucks. I don't have anybody that can disarm traps, and there's physically no way to attack these two without running into a trap, and so unfortunately that's going to be some guaranteed damage right there. That's going to suck a little bit. So let's talk about the combat system. So Gloomhaven at its core is a card-based game. It actually is like a CCG, essentially, like a card-based board game. I don't know what a CBBG? I don't know what you would call that, but every character has different cards. We have everything from like a taunt right here all the way down to looting. Every action you can take in the dungeon is listed on a card. And so for picking things up, you would have to play a card unless you end your turn on top of that item and then you pick it up automatically. I mean, to attack, you've got to play a card. To move, you've got to play a card. And so really, you need to understand the basics of Gloomhaven before any of what I'm about to do makes sense. So first things first, you've got to pick your cards for the round. The turns in this game are broken up into rounds, just like they are in D&D. Based on the cards you choose and this number on the left, you'll be given an initiative. Your initiative will determine where you go in the turn order, who attacks when, and then from there, after that's all resolved between us and the enemy, everybody's taking their turn. That's an entire round of combat for people that don't know the terminology from board games or whatever. Now, this game does make things a little bit more interesting because whatever card you pick first is your leading card. Your leading card does not need to be played first, but the card that you pick first sets your initiative. And so that's a very, very important part of the game to understand, because if you're trying to plan your turns and you're trying to make sure, like, okay, I want the rock guy to go directly after my brute, like, you would want to lead off with an ability that does like 27 on the brute so that he goes first, and then you'd want an ability that's like 28 for the rock guy so that he can safely act right after the brute does without any interruption from enemies. And so we need to pick our initiative right now for both of our characters. I'm going to start off with a shield bash, and I'm going to start out with a leaping cleave, I think. I don't know if I want to burn leaping cleave this early. So these cards can only be played one time, and they have to last you the entire dungeon. I say they can only be used one time, but there are ways to get the cards back. But every time you play a card, it gets discarded, and you can't use it until you either take a short rest, and so you lose one discarded card, and you get all your discarded cards back, except for the one you discarded, or you can take a long rest, and if you take the long rest, you can lose one card in order to restore all the other ones to your hand, and then also gain 2 health, and it refreshes your items if you have any items that are tapped and have been used. And so anyways, lots and lots of minutia in this game, lots of crunch, but I promise you we're gonna get through this and you're gonna understand Gloomhaven by the time we get to the back end. Now you might be saying to yourself, why do each of these cards have 2 actions on them, a top and a bottom? Well, aside from initiative, so you pick your leading card, that sets your initiative, as you can see right here, and then you're going to pick a secondary card. Now, from these cards, every turn you get 2 actions. You have to pick a top on one card and the bottom on the other. And so if you pick the top on, say, Leaping Cleave, that's a 3 damage attack that's got a little bit of an AoE effect. That would mean that I would have to play the shield part of Shield Bash. I would have to play the bottom, and vice versa. So if I attack with the Shield Bash for 4 damage and a stun on that card, that uses up the top option on Leaping Cleave, and I would have to play the bottom. You'll see what I mean in actual form and function once we get moving. The other thing that I'd like to do is he's got Rock Tunnel right there, destroy one adjacent obstacle. I don't know if I want to do that. We can immobilize that guy right there with Crushing Grasp. Yeah, I'm gonna Rock Tunnel. Everything I know about this game is that archers are the most dangerous, and so... Alright, so what do we have here? Living Bones. He can move, and he can attack, apparently. We have Attack 1 and Attack 1 on the Bone Ranger. We get to know, so in Gloomhaven, you know what your enemy's abilities are when they're playing on the board, and that's actually an important metagame focus, is that if you know that the Living Bones has a card that allows him to move, but not attack, then you know he can't do anything to you that turn, therefore he's not a priority for you to take out. But with the Bone Ranger over here, he's got 2 attacks right there, which virtually means he is guaranteed to attack. He can't move and attack right now, but he can attack as far as I understand. Like, I'm not 100% sure on how these cards work right here, but you can see their initiative, so he's going to go before my rock guy. But this dude's going to be able to go before him, so hopefully we'll be able to wipe him out nice and early. I haven't actually gotten familiar with the cards here. That's how much wounds they have. That's how far they can move. That's their attack damage, and then that's their range damage. But aside from that, so they deal 3 range damage, I guess. So this guy's going to attack for 3. Both of the archers are going to attack for 3. And then this guy is apparently going to attempt to move, as far as I can tell. Either that, or if I move into range with him, he'll probably attack me. So let's find this out here. I've got Leaping Cleave ready to go. It's going to put me on top of a trap, which is a little bit unfortunate. I do wish that table was out of the way. Man, they got a really good really good trap distribution. I'm sort of disappointed right now. Like, it's going to be... I don't like taking guaranteed damage like this. We're going to skip our movement right there. He's going to take 2 damage from the trap. Every time you take damage, you have a couple of options. You can either burn a card in your hand permanently for the rest of the dungeon in order to negate that damage. I would not recommend this option. This option you should save like until you're in the last room and you're reasonably sure that you're going to win. And this is just to speed up the game and make it go faster, or to kind of clinch the victory if it's close. Don't use this in the early game. So I'm just going to take the 2 damage. The other option is even worse. You burn 2 discarded cards. So if I had any discarded cards right here, we would play that. I'm just going to take the damage. So we use Leaping Cleave to move. That was a jump move, by the way, which means that it doesn't take into account terrain. I think you could just like leap over it or whatever. It's kind of like flying, I suppose. And now, so because we played the bottom part on this card, we have to play the top part on this card right here. Now, attacking also has its own rules in Gloomhaven. I'm sorry if this is working as a bit of a tutorial for all of you, but damn it, I went through it and learned this game for you, and you are going to learn the game for me. I spent about an hour last night just kind of running through Gloomhaven campaign walkthroughs and whatnot, just figuring out the rules and getting it going. So every time you attack, this is an attack with a stun on it. Every time you attack, you're going to get a modifier. You can see that underneath the skeleton's portrait next to the crossed swords under attack modifiers. Basically, what happens in the board game is every time you attack, you draw from the Modifier Deck, which is a deck full of cards. They either say, 0, they say -2, they say -1, they say +1, +2, ×2, or null. That'll actually modify your damage. So if we rolled a null right here, we would do 0 damage, even though the attack says it does 4. We get a -2, we'll deal 2 damage. We get a -1, we'll deal 3 damage, so on and so forth, all the way up to double damage. We're going to go with that attack right there. We got a -1, so he's going to deal 3 damage, and this dude's going to be stunned. So he's not going to do anything on this turn. That guy's going to move up. He's going to attack for 0 damage because he rolled a -1 on his attack modifier. I think I'm going to... So that's a move 5 and then an attack 3, huh? Every enemy that I move through here gets an immobilized debuff. So I'm going to confirm that movement right there. And so he's been immobilized. And then we are going to attempt to choke this guy out. Hopefully our modifier doesn't screw us. So Crushing Grasp. There we go. We one-shotted the skeleton archer. Perfect. I usually hope to get 2 kills in my first turn. We only got 1 kill that time around, so things are not going like perfect right now, but they are going. We're about to take some damage though. He got 1 damage dealt to him. That's okay. We can soak 1 damage. I don't care about that. Alright, we'll soak the 1 damage again, and then we'll end the round. He's got a healing potion, and he's got some options. I think he's got an ability that actually heals him. Yeah, he does. He's got Eye for an Eye, which allows us to heal, so I'll probably run that, I think. Let's go Eye for an Eye, and then we're going to go... Let's go Spare Dagger for right now. I kind of want that archer to be gotten rid of. I don't know if that's going to be a good choice, but I'm going to try and do what I can do here. I would like for him... He can throw a massive boulder, and he can throw that 3 spaces. So he can pretty much hit everybody. The caveat here with ranged attacks is that you have to be able to draw a line from the corner of your hex to the corner of an enemy's hex in order to use a ranged attack on them. So I'm not entirely positive, even though that guy is 3 hexes away, I don't think we can draw a line without hitting that table right there. And so I'm pretty sure we can't throw that over the table. I might be wrong. I don't know if it's like a visual line that you can draw from any height on the miniature, or if it's from the corner of the ground hex over, but that's one of those little minutia of rules that I'm not quite positive on just yet. I've had some ranged attacks, like, they seem to be blocked by things like tables, and then sometimes it seems like I can attack over the top of them. And it's more than likely just me not understanding a rule somewhere. This game does have a lot of rules. Have I mentioned that? This game has a lot of rules. Anyways, we need to pick the Cragheart's abilities, and I'm not super familiar with what he does. And so you'll forgive me for a minute. I'm going to go through my cards for just a second because I don't play the Cragheart. Okay, so I think I know what I'm going to do. I think we're going to go with... I need like an attack on bottom. Do I have an attack on bottom anywhere over here? Doesn't look like I do, but I do have a heal that I can throw on him, so I'll run that. And then I'm going to run Massive Boulder. We're probably going to act like third with the Cragheart, I think. Yeah, that's about what I figured. So the Bone Ranger is going to heal and then attack, I think. And then the Living Bones is going to move then attack. So I think he's going to come over here, actually. I think he's going to break off combat. Sucks. That means I kind of have to do something about him. Let's see here. Gain an XP for every time you retaliate this round. I don't know if he's going to retaliate or not. It sounded like these dudes are going to move. I was going to play the heal on him just to get him, like, patched up. I think I'm going to play the heal still, just in case. Like, I'm a little nervous about what's happening here. And then we're going to attack him. We got a +1, so we dealt 4 damage. That enemy is now dead, and the Brute's turn is finished. I'm going to move him up that way. Oh, he healed that skeleton, so it's a ranged heal. He dealt 0 damage with his arrow, which is fantastic. He got a really bad draw on that card. Yeah, I'll take the 2 damage over there. I'll soak it. It's fine. We have the option right now. So what I wanted to do was heal him, but I guess I might heal myself. I mean, we can go with... So we've got a range 5 immobilize attack. That right there is Elemental Affinity. So Elemental Affinity is this little table that exists in the board game where there's 3 columns, and the Elemental Affinity starts out in the left column. Every time you use an ability that uses a certain element, the affinity goes up, and whether the affinity is waxing, waning, or neutral will change the way that ability performs, essentially, in combat. At the end of every round, the Elemental Affinity drops by 1 increment, by the way. And so, like, if you use 2 abilities in 1 turn that use Earth, it'll go up to waxing, which means that, like, new effects will happen and stuff like that. But at the end of the round, it'll drop back down to neutral. And if you don't do anything on the next turn, it'll drop down to waning again. And so, anyways, that's all you need to know about Elemental Affinities. They're not super important as of right now, but if you're wondering what the little symbol means right there, it means that it shifts the Elemental Affinity table. I'm going to attack this guy with a Massive Rock. Unfortunately, rolled a -1 on our damage modifier, so we didn't kill him. Disappointing. I'll probably roll a heal on him, since he's still in frontline melee, and my plan is to have him tank, and he's going to have to walk through that trap, unless I can figure out some way to deal with this archer next turn. He took 1 damage right there, so there was no modifier to the attack damage. And that's the end of the round. That's all we had to worry about. Okay. One thing that I'm not super sure about right now is why some cards get burned without me having to burn them. This rule right here, so as I understand it, all of these cards should just be discarded. I'm assuming there's some rule about the combat that I'm missing and I'm forgetting. Like, this was the first ability that I played, so it's possible that the first ability that you play on any refresh gets burned for the rest of the match. That's possible, because I've noticed this happening, and it'll be the same on Cragheart. The first ability that I played, Rock Tunnel, got burned right there. And so I'm thinking that's the way that it works, and I must have just missed that rule when I was going through the rulebook for Gloomhaven and kind of refreshing my memory. Anyways, let's go back, and I'd like to kill this guy right here, is what I'd like to do. I'd like for this guy to be dead. So I think I'm going to go with an Overwhelming Assault. Yeah, I think. Over here on this side, I needed to... We already did Earthen Clawed, backup ammunition. I need to be able to, like, throw something at somebody. Yeah, that'll work right there. So Crater works. We also have Unstable Upheaval. All allies suffer 1 damage. Rumbling Advance might work. Oh, that's another heal right there, though. That's pretty good. Okay, do Rumbling Advance, and then do Crater, please. That sounds good. We'll add that. I like to be polite with my heroes. We have manners, we're polite. So he's going to, the Bone Ranger is going to attack from range for 2 damage, apparently. And then the Living Bones is going to attack for 3 damage, I guess. So what I wanted to do right here is Overwhelming Assault on him. That should be enough to one-shot him. And then any enemy who targets one of your adjacent allies with an attack this round targets you with that attack instead. I don't care about that. And I actually did this on purpose so that I could explain a certain point of the game to you. Any card can be traded for a default 2 damage attack or 2 space move. That's what these 2 little buttons are right here. If you use the card as a move, it automatically counts as a bottom action, and if you use the attack, it automatically counts as a top action with regards to how picking a move on this card is going to affect what you have to pick on this card, in case you were wondering how that works. I'm going to move him over to here, because hopefully on this turn, we kill this guy off, and then we don't have to deal with him. If this goes wrong, though, and we roll a null, it's going to kind of suck. There you go. We wiped him out. Another one bites the dust. Unfortunately, I haven't had a whole lot of options to, like, pick up cards here. I kind of want to do a short rest. I don't know if I should do that right now. I probably should. We're almost out of cards, and when you run out of cards, you die. So... I mean, you don't die from discarded cards. I should take that back. You die from burned cards, but, like, we need to rest and get our hand refilled, I suppose. I hope that I'm explaining this well enough that you can follow it, because, like, for a sponsored video, I'm treating this kind of like normally with a sponsored video, I'm kind of like, and I ham it up, and I just try to make the video fun and entertaining and, like, a good time. This time around, I was trying something a little bit different because Gloomhaven is a very complicated game, and I think a lot of people that are going to buy Gloomhaven thinking that it's something like, you know, Baldur's Gate, or thinking that it's a game something akin to, like, oh, I don't know, Divinity, are going to be frustrated once they come in and they realize that it's like a CCG board game. You know, this is a heavy Euro game, essentially. This is a super heavy Euro game that has more or less gotten rid of a lot of the streamlining and, I guess, Ameritrash features. That's a lot of board game terminology that I threw at you. So Ameritrash basically means that the game, like, to my knowledge, if a board game is described as Ameritrash, it means that it's very smooth, it's very streamlined, but because of that, it's kind of like fast food. Like, it's fun and it's played very, very rapid fire and the rules are very streamlined, but it lacks depth. Whereas the nomer of, like, a Euro game means that it's heavy crunch, has lots of rules, does not have a lot of fluff, but it's got a lot of depth and it's got a lot of replayability, I guess. I don't know. Somebody in the comments will probably have to correct me on that assumption, but that's just the way that I feel about it. Something tells me there's a lot of enemies in this next room because we didn't even kill half over here. We killed 4 guys in this room, so there's at least 5 guys in this room. Yikes. Well... let's do it. So we open up that door right there. Okay. This could be worse, but it could be better. I don't hate this situation, but I'm not in love with it either. Like, at least I've got one turn to kind of move people around and get into position, but this dude is the main problem right here. This dude is an issue, and we're going to have to deal with him. The Living Spirit Elite was not something I was looking into running into this early in the game. I was kind of hoping it would not go like that. So grab and go is going to give me 4 move. 1, 2, 3, 4. That'll get me into the room. I probably should have waited and rested. I think I made a mistake. We can burn Eye for an Eye. That's actually a perfectly good card to burn. I don't care about that. Yeah, it's fine. We'll burn that one so that we can get our hand back here. And the first thing we play right now is going to get burned. So I'm going to do grab and go, I guess. There's not a whole lot. Unless I have any top actions that give me move, he's not even going to be able to get into combat. So anything we play right now is going to kind of be wasted. And so I would rather it be something that I don't really care about in the first place. In fact, we'll start with that, and then we'll go right there. And then for you, let's do a short rest. Earth and Clawed, I definitely don't want to burn. Now I have to burn Crater. Damn, I didn't want to burn that. I was hoping we would fish out something else, but it's okay. We burned a really, really good ability right there, and I'm just kind of bummed out about it. So instead, what we're going to do is we'll do... oh, I needed Rock Tunnel too. Damn. Okay. We're kind of in trouble right now. We kind of have issues. Yeah. Well, I'm going to leave it in this room and kind of think about it, but this has been Gloomhaven. This has been a sponsored video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I hope it's been informational for you so that you can figure out how complicated the game is and whether or not it's for you. This game is a very, very difficult game. It's hard. Like, your first couple campaigns, you are going to get smashed. At least that's the way that it came for me as I was learning the rules. But I'm glad I could kind of bestow those rules upon you so that you have at least a passing understanding of Gloomhaven before you decide to buy this title. As I said at the beginning of the video, this is a sponsored video. If you wanted to get the game, the developers have put it here on my channel. I've got a link for you down below that'll have you all nice and set up. Take care, everybody. Hi, do, and I will see y'all next time. Thanks for stopping on in.